There are nights when the thought comes quietly. It isn't dramatic, it isn't loud. It arrives as a simple, almost logical whisper in the back of your mind. What if I just stopped? No more pressure, no more noise, no more pain. Just the switch, flip to off. If you have ever stared at the ceiling at 3 a.m. and entertained that thought, you are not broken. You don't have to hate yourself for it. In fact, you are walking down a corridor that has been traveled by some of the most profound minds in human history. Tonight, we aren't here to judge that thought. We aren't here to offer you hollow platitudes or toxic positivity. We are here to sit with the darkness. We are going to look at it through the eyes of a man who knew suffering intimately. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher of the hammer. And he has a message for you that might just change how you see the morning. Friedrich Nietzsche is often misunderstood as a cold, arrogant figure who worshipped power. But the man who wrote Beyond Good and Evil lived a life that most would call cursed. He was plagued by chronic migraines so severe they left him blind and vomiting for days in darkened rooms. He lost his father as a child. He was rejected in love. He watched his brilliant mind slowly collapse into madness. He didn't write about overcoming pain from a comfortable armchair. He wrote about it while bleeding. And in the middle of that agony, he wrote a sentence that remains one of the most shocking and honest things a philosopher has ever dared to say. The thought of suicide is a great consolation. By means of it, one gets through many a dark night. He didn't say this to encourage the act. He said it to name a brutal truth. When the pain is unbearable, the mere knowledge that you have an exit can be the only thing that gives you the strength to stay.
To understand why Nietzsche said this, we have to understand the nature of despair. Despair is, at its core, a loss of control. When you lose your job, your health, or your hope, you feel like a puppet having its strings pulled by a cruel universe. You feel trapped. The thought of the exit restores a sense of agency. It puts the power back in your hands. It tells you, you are not trapped. You can leave whenever you want. It is like a ticket you keep in your pocket. You don't have to use it, but just knowing it is there, feeling the weight of that choice, can be a strange kind of safety net. It allows you to endure the unendurable simply because you know it is voluntary. Nietzsche sees you in that room. He acknowledges that this dark thought is a defense mechanism of the mind, a way to survive the night. But, and this is the most important but of your life, he doesn't let you stop there. He offers comfort, yes, but then he demands courage. Nietzsche hated passive resignation. He despised the idea of lying down and letting life crush you. For him, pain was not a signal to log out. It was fuel. He challenges us with a question. If you have the courage to contemplate ending your life, do you also have the courage to live a dangerous one? If you are already at rock bottom, if you have already mentally checked out, then you have nothing left to lose. And a person with nothing to lose is the most powerful person on earth. This is where he introduces the concept of Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. Not just accepting the good parts, but embracing the brutal, the ugly, and the painful parts. He suggests that we shouldn't try to escape our suffering, but rather use it as a forge. The emptiness you feel, the collapse of your old values, Nietzsche would say, good. That isn't a punishment. That is raw material. You have cleared the ground. Now you can build something that is actually yours. So, what do you do when the darkness comes back tonight? Because it will come back. You don't argue with it. You don't try to think positive. You sit with it like an old friend, and then you engage in a small act of rebellion. Nietzsche famously said, echoing a sentiment later popularized by Viktor Frankl, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." The thought of quitting gives you control over the how, but the rebellion is finding a why just for tomorrow. It doesn't have to be a grand life purpose. The universe doesn't owe you meaning. You have to create it. And you can create it out of spite. You can live just to prove the darkness wrong. Ask yourself, what would make tomorrow worth seeing? Maybe it's the taste of black coffee at 7 a.m. Maybe it's finishing the chapter of the book on your nightstand. Maybe it's just the stubborn refusal to let the story end on a bad chapter. Every time you choose to stay, you are spitting in the face of the abyss. You are saying to the universe, "You can hurt me, but you don't get to decide when I'm done." The thought of quitting is a great consolation. It has carried humanity through nights darker than you can imagine. But Nietzsche would remind you, consolation is not the goal. Creation is. The abyss has given you a gift, freedom from the old lies. It has stripped you down to the bone. Now it is your turn to give something back, not to the world, but to yourself. So, tonight, make a pact with the morning. Do one small defiant thing. Wash your face. Drink a glass of water. Stand up. Because the abyss is deep, but you are deeper. See you in the next dark night, or in the dawn that follows.